Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Today, I'm just going to give you another suggestion about a possibility for daily devotional Bible reading. This one is called Explore by the Book, and it's 90 days in Genesis, Exodus, Psalms, and Galatians with the Reformers. Okay, Calvin, Luther, Bullinger, and Kramer. This is one of the few devotional guides that I've used twice right through. I thought it was such an exceptional book. So we're going to have a look at day 3, and this is Martin Luther's thoughts, and the heading is Falling Away is Easy. And I'll start with his introductory comment. Congregations which are won by great labour may easily and quickly be overthrown, so we ought carefully to watch out for the devil, lest he sneaks in while we sleep. Read Galatians 1 verses 6 to 10. Thanks, Jen.
I am astonished that you are so quickly deserting the one who called you by the grace of Christ and are turning to a different gospel, which is really no gospel at all. Evidently, some people are throwing you into confusion and are trying to pervert the gospel of Christ. But even if we or an angel from heaven should preach a gospel other than the one we preach to you, let him be eternally condemned. As we have already said, so now I say again, if anybody is preaching to you a gospel other than what you accepted, let him be eternally condemned. Am I now trying to win the approval of men or of God? Or am I trying to please men? If I were still trying to please men, I would not be a servant of Christ.
Thanks, Jen. Now, one of the strengths of this particular devotional guide is it asks you some questions, having done the reading before it gives you the comment. And here's the question that was asked. How did Paul feel about the churches he had planted deserting the gospel, and how had this happened? So 2 questions. I generally would write something down on a sheet of paper in answer to the questions just before I read more of Luther's thoughts. And here was the answers that I put. How did Paul feel about churches he planted deserting the gospel? I've said Paul was astonished and angry at those who would lead his people away from the gospel of grace he preached. And how had it happened? Some people had come in and were preaching a different gospel, distorting the gospel of Christ, legalistic Judaizers. Then I come back to the comments from Martin Luther. He goes on, overturning the gospel. See how Paul complains that to fall and to err in the faith is an easy matter. A minister may labour 10 years to get some little church to be rightly and religiously ordered, and when it is so ordered, there creeps in some mad, unlearned idiot who knows nothing but how to speak slanderously against the sincere preachers of the word, and they in one moment overthrow all. We, by the grace of God, have gotten here at Wittenberg the form of a Christian church. The word is purely taught among us, the sacraments are rightly used, and all things go forward prosperously. This most happy course of the gospel some madhead would soon stop, and in one moment would overturn all that we in many years have built with great labour. This happened even to Paul, the elect vessel of Christ. He had won the churches of Galatia with great care, but in a short time after his departure, the false apostles overthrew them. We so walk in the midst of Satan's snares that one fantastical head may destroy in a short space all that which many true ministers, labouring night and day, have built up. He goes on, caring for the church. Seeing then that the church is so soft and so tender a thing, and is so soon overthrown, we must watch carefully against these fantastical spirits who, when they have heard a few sermons or who have read a few pages in the Holy Scriptures, make themselves masters and controllers of all learners and teachers, contrary to common authority. At first, when the light of the gospel began to appear, after such a great darkness of human tradition, many were zealously bent to godliness. They heard sermons greedily and had the ministers of God's word in reverence. But now, when the doctrine of piety and godliness is happily reformed, with so great an increase of God's word, many which before seemed earnest disciples become despisers and very enemies. They not only cast off the study of God's word and despise its ministers, but also hate all good learning. Then there's a couple of apply questions. He says, first, we must watch ourselves. Are you still zealous for the true gospel message and keen to pass it on faithfully? And looking at my notes here, I've just simply answered yes. Second, what can you do to help ensure that your church does not turn away to a different gospel? And I've written here, what you can do to help ensure your church doesn't turn to a different gospel is to simply keep preaching the word faithfully and loving the people genuinely in God's strength. Then the suggestion for prayer is, pray for your own heart to remain faithful to the true gospel. Pray that false teaching does not enter your church, and that if it does, it is driven away by faithful ministers. So I just commend that one to you as an option as well. You get it from the Good Book Company, and you can look that up on the internet. Anyway, it's great to be with you again. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.
See you then.